if I start tearing up, it's really exciting to be here. It is the morning ritual for me, sorry.
And then Chuck Norman is our county clerk. And we've had some opportunity to talk before in the citizens colleges that we've helped the city and the county run. We're going to ask each of these people to speak for about 10 minutes. Sarah's going to be ruthless about timing them. She'll hold up signs and let you know when you're out of time, but then we'll have lots of time for questions and answers. So we're going to ask you guys, if you would, when you talk, to summarize what your key responsibilities are. Talk particularly about how city and county work together or can on elections, what other opportunities there are or things that you're looking at for working together, and then can you tell us a little bit about how we find out the information we need for elections? You can talk about anything else you want for that.
Denver Broncos?
It looked all right last year. We'll try to end about 10 minutes to 9 and give people an opportunity to talk with you informally or to talk among themselves informally. So that seems to also be popular. Sarah, you're up. Thank you very much for being here.
All right, thanks for coming out. We like to think we're the most exciting part of the government. I'm not sure that others will think that, but we think that. As you know, Dave said, I'm the city clerk, and so the question is, what is that? So some of the things that I do are I run our municipal elections, which how many of you all live in the city limits? Great, it's kind of hard not to, we're kind of big out there. So one of the things that you'll be hearing a lot from me, basically starting now through the next year's municipal election, is about our election. So what we're doing right now, election-wise, is redistricting. And what that is just redrawing the city council boundaries. That's done every 4 years by city charter. And by the way, I'll say city charter. And that's basically like the local city constitution. It's kind of how you think about that. It was adopted by the people, can only be changed by the people. So we're doing that right now every 4 years. Dave is chair of our districting advisory committee, and I know I see Courtney in the back, and there's some other members, and we're going through that process now. So if you haven't heard about that, which I'm not surprised if you haven't, because the media has just not been really excited about this topic either. But next Wednesday the 28th, at 10 a.m. I'm going to release the preliminary plan, and that's the plan where we're adjusting for population. It'll be thrown out there. We'll do a public release. Media hopefully will show up. Look to our website. You can comment on the changes. Every 4 years is not a huge population shift in the city, but as you all can imagine, guess where the growth is? North and east. So all the all of the 6 districts will change just a little. Basically, precincts kind of shifting some of the others. So pay attention to that, and I'm sure Dave will hopefully send that out. We can utilize your awesome email list to help get that out so that people are aware of it. There'll be a public hearing where you can comment on that. You can submit writing, call us, those kind of things. So that we kind of know what the feeling is, from you all, the voters, and then we'll set the final districts in November, middle of November, and then it's time for candidate filing. So if anybody's interested in running, I can hook you up. I can tell you what you need to do. Our elections are April 4th, 2017. It will be the 6 council districts, so you'll just be running in a small district, relatively. 73-ish thousand of your favorite people will be in your district. So we can definitely talk to you about that. So that's a big part of what you'll see me out there, hopefully, with the media. If you have any friends in the media, please tell them to pay attention to redistricting to help us get the word out. The other big thing that I do is work with council on city council agendas, minutes, getting those posted, making those available. If you as a citizen want a copy of an ordinance or not sure where to go, you can always call my office and we'll tell you, no, it's not my department, but it's here, or no, you can't do that, but you can do this. I'm a big person of no, but you can do this, and so we'll try to help you navigate through city government, or in some cases, if it's county issued, we'll refer you to the right division over in the county because we do work together. The other issue which kind of ties to that is business licensing. So if you're in one of the areas that's covered by the licensing code for the city of Colorado Springs, security officers, taxi cab drivers, or just a few, the ones that were more, or the more popular ones that we deal with the most are liquor licensing and medical marijuana licensing. So we have about a little over 3,459 business licenses that my office oversees. We have basically 804 of that is liquor licensing and 346 medical marijuana licenses, 136 actual dispensaries out there, and then the rest of them are other business types. So those are the main things that we handle and that we do. And as far as working with the county, we do. Checks on speed dial and their election department in particular, but we have been discussing actually some agenda management software that we are using for our council agendas. How many have gone out and kind of looked at a council agenda or even attended a council meeting? That is awesome. That is more than we normally see, so thank you very much. We like to know that people are either watching on TV or going out to the website and streaming it or looking at the agendas. Hopefully you like our new agenda system. We got it about almost 2 years ago, and so it's really easy to use. Jay did a really nice tutorial about how to maneuver through it because it was quite a bit different than what we did before. You can go out there, and if you find something that you really, really like, you can create a little snippet of the video and you can post it to Twitter or Facebook or save it for your own benefit. I'm sure, I'm very much expecting this will be the first district election since we've had the system. So I'm really intrigued to see if we'll see some of those little snippets out there on the campaign trail. So it'll be interesting. But we welcome your feedback, on the agenda process. I'm sorry, my eye is watering. Welcome your feedback. Definitely reach out to your council member. If you don't know who your council member is, we have a website that will. We have a website that you can do a lookup feature. That's part of coloradosprings.gov/election. You'll take you there, or /redistricting will take you there. You can also see some videos. I highly recommend you watch those only when you can't go to sleep. It has me in it. There's also a lookup feature where you can enter your address or any address, and it will tell you if it's in the city, who your member is, your council member, and it'll also tell you if you're not in the city, and it'll refer you to the county.
And which one is this?
It's coloradosprings.gov. You can get there two ways. You can do /election or /redistricting. So really want you to kind of go out there. We have also, if you just do, I think it's /clerk, just look for the city clerk. That's also, you can search our business licenses. Like if you want to know, do we license this type of business? And if we do, you'll have a link there to all the code, the application. There's also an online searchable database that if you want to know if a business is licensed, you can go search that and it'll tell you if they are licensed and in good standing. So there's all kinds of information out there. Also, if you have any questions, you can always just reach out to our office. And we're there to help you guys in any way we can. Like I said, if you're not really sure, we get a lot of these calls, and I'm sure you do too, on the county side of, I don't know where I need to go, so I'm just calling the clerk. And that's okay. We'll help you navigate that. Because in some cases, it might be a learning curve, a learning tool for us. So that's always nice. But yeah, reach out anytime.
Cool.
That's what we do in Clerkland.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Chuck Rohrman, the El Paso County Clerk and Recorder. I was selected in November of 2014. I took office in January of 2015. So I've been in office about a year and 9 months. Previous to that, for almost 5 years, I served in operations and as the chief deputy under then Clerk and Recorder Wayne Williams, and who is now our Secretary of State. Prior to that, I had a real job. I worked in manufacturing engineering for 20 years for such companies as NCR, AT&T, Hyundai. I mean, I could go on and on. I kept on changing names over the years, but I have a long career in engineering and manufacturing. Our office, under the state constitution, clerk and recorder has purview over a couple of activities. First, like Sarah, we do the agenda and minutes for our Board of County Commissioners. So we work with them every week. They have 2 meetings on Tuesday and Thursday. Most of the time in the summer they go to 1 meeting during the summer. So we help set their agenda, record those meetings. We also do. We don't have quite the number of liquor licenses and medical marijuana licenses as a county does, but we do have a number that are outside the city that are inside the county jurisdiction. The other thing is, I like to think that our office is the public face of county government, because outside the sheriff department, which hopefully you don't see them unless you don't ever see them in your life, not alongside the roadside or at the county jail, but or public health or Department of Social Services, you probably have your exposure through county government through our office. Our elections, we have over 430,000 people that are registered in our elections. We plan on sending out this November. We have 380,000 active voters. So we do elections, and we do even number elections. We coordinate elections with various entities. On the odd number years, we do the political primaries in June, which we just completed. So that's how people know us. We have a small department. We're not a large department in elections. We have 10 people, and most of the year we spend doing 2 things in election. One is doing all the data entry and updating our voter rolls and making sure we have clean lists. And we partner with the city and Manitou and the others that need voter lists, and then also private citizens come to us asking for maps and lists. And then for the other part of the year, we're doing a lot of planning. A lot of people think, well, election's a one-day thing or a short period of time, but actually, once we put one election to bed, we're planning for the next election, because as Sarah can attest, elections are very complex. There's a lot of moving parts, and since 2013, we've changed the way we do elections throughout the state. Before that, we kind of had a hybrid model. We had neighborhood polling locations. We had early vote, where for 2 weeks before the election you could come in and vote. And then you had absentee, where you could request a ballot and get that mailed to you and do that in the comfort and privacy of your home. And in El Paso County, about 65% of people chose to vote that way by mail ballot. In 2013, the state legislature and Governor Hickenlooper signed a change the way we do elections. So we no longer have neighborhood polling locations, but we have an all-mail ballot. And this presidential election will be the first that we are conducting under that method. So if you are registered to vote and you're an active voter, you'll be getting a ballot mailed to you. And those ballots will go out October 17th, so we're a little less than a month away. In fact, military and overseas voters will get mailed their ballot this week, because the law accords them extra time, 45 days before the election. So on Thursday, we'll be dropping those ballots to our men and women who are overseas serving our country, and also citizens that find themselves abroad be able to vote. So most people are going to vote by mail ballot. 95, 96% of voters will vote that way. But there are still voters who want that neighborhood or that polling place kind of feel of voting. They want to go on election day or around election day and vote. And for those type of voters, we have what's called voter service and polling locations. So we have 25 of those. We're required by law to have 23, but we like to have an extra 1 or 2 just in case, because, for instance, a number of years ago, we had part of our concrete facade fall off the front of our building and close down the entrance to our Centennial Hall location. So, but we had an extra 1 or 2, so even though we closed that, there were still opportunities for people to vote. And we positioned those voting service and polling locations. We work real hard in our GIS level area to map where our citizens are, our voters, and put them so that you're geographically close to folks. So the average person, Ryan, what would you say, probably
98%.
98% are within, is it 15 or 10 minutes? It's a very
15.
short, 15 minutes. So we look for VSPCs that are well known by people. We look for things that are along polling location, bus lines, have ample parking. We need to have places that have access to the internet because we pull down your voter information at those locations. We look for locations that are ADA accommodatable because we want all citizens to be able to vote. So there's a lot of things that go into what determines a VSPC location, and we try to make sure that's available for everyone in the community. So elections, we do recording. So if you buy a house, we record that deed. If you are in the service and you transition out, a lot of soldiers like to have their DD 214s recorded. But if you wanted to come in and record anything, if you had a sales receipt to something and you want to record it, you can come in and record that. We're just finishing up a big project where we had everything that went back to 1865 when the foundation of the state and this county on microfilm, and it was said, well, microfilm will last forever. Well, microfilm degrades over time, so we're just completing that process of converting that to digital form to save that for posterity. But also that digital image now allows us to enhance. We have stuff from the turn of the century that is kind of light and faded, but when you scan that digitally, you can enhance that, and that image pops up, that text pops up, and it's like it was brand new. So that's kind of neat that we're doing. So we're just finalizing that. The other way people know, and another way we're the public face of county government, is motor vehicle services. We do license plate renewals and titling of vehicles. And we have 5 locations. We have 4, and we added a 5th one at Fort Carson. And we're very proud to be able to have worked with Fort Carson and Department of Defense to put, oh boy, I probably got 10 more minutes of stuff. All right, very good. So we service over 550,000 people a year through those 5 offices. Besides doing the renewal of plates and titling vehicles, 10 years ago our county commissioner said the lines at the state office for driver's licenses are awfully long. You're sometimes waiting 2, 3, 4 hours. Can you do something? So we took on that ability. We do renewal of driver's license, we do Colorado IDs, we do motorcycle endorsements. So we got about 110, 120,000 people that come through our offices just that a year also. Other things, since I'm running out of time here, Sarah. So ballots go out the 17th, October 17th. All our mail now is processed in Denver, so we drop that into the mail stream on Monday the 17th. It gets processed there. Most people will see their ballot. A few will see it on Tuesday. Majority of folks will see it that week on Wednesday or Thursday, with a dribble on Friday. If you don't see your ballot that week, give our office a call. You can go to 575-VOTE. That's 575-8683, and I can write that on there. So 575-VOTE. (8683). Or you can go to our website, epcvotes.com. That stands for El Paso County Votes.com. If you need to register to vote, we're asking everyone to update their voter registration. If you've moved, ballots are not automatically forwardable. So you need to have a current address in our database. You can do that if you have a family member or friend or neighbor that they're not sure if they're up to date on that. They can go to a website called govotecolorado.com. That's govotecolorado.com. That is the Secretariat's website. And you click on Manage My Registration, and it's very easy to update that information. Any other questions before I get the hook?
Is Colorado spelled out in that website, or just the?
Vote Colorado is all spelled out.
Okay.
I will write that for you. GoVoteColorado.com. I also have, I want to acknowledge Ryan Parcell is back there in the checkered shirt. He's my Chief Deputy and Public Information Officer. You can always feel free to avail yourself of Ryan's time, or my election manager and have an election question. Liz Olson, her number is 520-6222, and I think she's the finest election manager in the state. So, any questions on the election? I know there's a lot of little things that probably probably missed, but I'm happy to answer for you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. So, questions from the audience? Robert?
Sir, I think I heard you mention that you pay close attention to your GIS data when you are mapping out polling locations or something like that. Do I have that right so far? I'm talking to Mr. Borman.
Yes, we do. We look at where voters are registered, and then we overlay that where the population center are, and then try and find locations that are near those population centers, or if we find a good location. It's very hard to find a good location because under the new mode of voting, where we have these voter service and polling centers, they have to have internet accessibility. They have to be accessible to the handicap. So there's a lot that goes on, and we have to stage our equipment in advance there because we have to pop these all up at about the same time. So we'll go into places and say, hey, we need 2 to 4 weeks to be able to have our equipment staged. We need to have internet. We need to have adequate parking and the like. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So we're looking to be close to the population on major thoroughfares, bus lines, and so on. So there's a lot of give and take that goes into it as far as selecting a VSPC, and we use GIS to help us with that.
Okay, so the reason I asked about GIS is that I was wondering, I've tried to find the county's GIS data on neighborhoods, and the particular webpage I found that lists the various mapping data sets that you offer, I have not been able to find anything where you guys distinguish neighborhoods. So it doesn't directly relate to voting.
Sure.
It's more a question about what does your office do in terms of maintaining data sets for GIS?
I have a small GIS department of 1.5 people, and what they're doing most of the year is either special projects for our office or updating. When you come in to register your vehicle, we need to make sure that where you're registered, that the proper taxing entity, that we're collecting the taxes for that. So when that car is sold, that sales tax goes to the city of Fountain, the county, the city of Colorado Springs, whatever entity that they live in. So she spends a lot of time updating that registry, also our voter registry. The county has a GIS department that is.
GIS, excuse me.
Geographical Information System.
I don't do acronyms.
That's all right. That's all right. We throw them around a lot. They're actually right next door. Have you had?
I'll have to look them up.
Yeah, I would just walk across the alleyway and
Okay.
introduce yourself.
Okay.
They have a lot of sets, and a lot of it is based on census tract information.
Okay.
So, and I know a lot of times that probably doesn't overlay directly on neighborhoods, but you have to do some approximation. But I would take a walk across the alleyway and meet with them. So.
One thing just to help you out too, that the city, obviously, every government entity is going to use a lot of GIS data. So on the redistricting page I mentioned a little bit earlier, there are a series of maps. One of those maps does show neighborhoods. Now let me caution you on that map is only showing, for our purposes, because we're talking redistricting, it's only showing the neighborhood associations that are split by precincts. But there is a layer, it's publicly available on the city's website, and unless Jay knows directly how to get to the GIS data, I'm sorry, I don't. But if you want to give me your name and number, I can get it to you. But there is, we got that information, we got that from the city's GIS department. So, and ours I think is 2 people. But we do have that information too, and a lot of times our GIS departments are sharing data. A lot of it comes from DOLA, the local government, so publicly available data. But you might check kind of both resources, but you know, as Chuck mentioned, if theirs is right next door, mine's just a few blocks down. Theirs might be closer.
I didn't quite understand your comment about neighborhoods that were split by polling location.
Okay, so there are a lot of neighborhood associations, obviously Como is the master of who they are and where they are. So what we were looking at for redistricting is the county, sets the precinct boundaries. So even though we do mail ballots, you still have voting precincts. So they set the precinct boundaries, and so what we did as part of our looking at for redistricting is we wanted to know how many of those precinct boundaries cross a neighborhood association or a group.
Gotcha.
Because we're interested in, as best any of us can, I know Chuck, you look at that too, when you do county commissioner redistricting. We do as best we can to not split a neighborhood, but because the primary, one of the primary factors is substantially equal in population, sometimes you have to split neighborhood associations. Try as hard as you can not to, but sometimes you do, and so that's why we did our map showing who is split by precinct boundary. So as we go through trying to equal out the population, along with some of the other things that we have to do, Voting Rights Act and various other things, keeping them contiguous, that's one of the things we try to do. And like I said, you do that on commissioner districts.
Great, thank you.
So I've become rather intimately familiar with the city's redistricting process, but I was curious about the counterpart on the county side as far as how you do redistricting.
Well, we are not mandated periodically as far as for county commissioner districts. We work to try and keep them the same size, so it tends to approximate one person, one vote. Now, what we are, in state statute, we're defined by the size. We can't go over 2,000 members in a precinct, and then every 10 years, what's that?
2,000 in population or 2,000 registered voters?
Registered voters. So every 10 years after the census, the state gets that information and they drive that to align state house and senate districts, and then also Congress then defines congressional districts. So we look at those boundaries, and then we have to work off of state boundaries for legislative districts, for congressional districts. We have to look at city lines, special districts. I mean, it gets the multitude of lines that crisscross. It's a patchwork. It's a lot. So we have to play many things. We have many apples and oranges that we're juggling there. So sometimes you say, well, why that line there? Well, that might have been how the state legislature draws that line, and we have to form those precincts, keep them under 2,000 voters. We have to look at other district, metropolitan districts, special districts lines. So there's a lot that goes into that process.
And just as a clarification point too, because I know it is confusing. It's confusing for us, it's confusing for everybody. When you draw city council districts or county commissioner districts, state rep districts, state house, Congress, you're drawing based on population. So registered voters is important for always. And that's why, Chuck was saying that the precincts are drawn by registered voters. That's a key distinction. When it goes to drawing districts, we're by population. So when you're out there looking at either the data maps, Chuck has some great data maps out there on the county commissioners. We have data out there for redistricting purposes. What you're going to see is the population number, particularly on ours. We tell you the population per precinct. That does not in any way, in some cases, match up with the number of registered voters. So don't let that throw you because, you just, Chuck was awesome in saying you just have 2,000 people in the precinct. But when you go out and look at the precincts on our redistricting site, you're going to see some with 5,000, 4,000, 2,000. You're going to go, but wait, I thought you couldn't have more than 2,000. The difference is those are population numbers. Because it is confusing.
And the rule of thumb is for every 10 people, there's probably only 6.5 people that are registered to vote. So there's people who choose not to participate. There's people who are under 18, right?
Exactly. We hope they're not.
Yeah. So and when it comes to our process with respect to setting commissioner boundaries, we have those other lines. We also look for. We like to keep things compact. We have Commissioner Clerk, who kind of represents that west side of the county. We have Commissioner Littleton, that's kind of the heart.
County and county districts are up here, and the city and county districts within the city of Raleigh are already there.
So we try to keep condensed. We don't like this gerrymandering. We like for people to be able to say, well, my district is bounded by everything that's west of I-25. Commissioner Glenn is the northeast. Commissioner Waller is kind of the western part of the county, and Heisey is kind of the southeast portion of the county, I should say. So we try to keep things compact.
Who's first?
Jim?
Oh, yes. we are, and when I say we, I'm talking about the League of Women Voters, we are trying to encourage those 16 years and older to register.
Sure.
What do they receive between the time they're 16 and 18? What kind of correspondence do you get out to them?
Yeah, the law in 2013 allowed for people who are 16 or older to register. My daughter availed herself of that. She reminded me yesterday that her 18th birthday is in 10 days. So, so she registers. So when